right, so this is a video I've been wanting to do for a while because I have a bunch of For Against Darkness stuff and I'm going to go through it a teeny bit, but mostly I want to reach out to the audience of viewers who play For Against Darkness who can advise me as to maybe what I'm missing or what I should seek out, whether it is like in book form, officially published, or some fan made thing. I don't know, because I feel like I want to get some more stuff for it and I need to know which way to go. So, a bit of history preliminary stuff. When I first bought this game, when I first encountered this game, I for whatever reason I thought to myself I wasn't really going to be playing it that much. I never even got the physical main rule book, which if you listen to my channel at all, you know, like I really dislike using PDFs for anything, but I only have the core book as a PDF, and that has always been the case. And I keep like not buying the physical book, which I would prefer because I keep waiting and hoping that someday there will be a second edition of it. And I don't know if that's ever going to be the case due to a range of circumstances, but I still haven't bought that. So I started out just with that. But since then, I've bought a ton of stuff for it, but maybe not enough because I want more. I also, the only other PDFs that I have for it, I purchased a little bit later on. I don't know why I didn't get them as physical books. Maybe they're not available that way anymore. I don't know. I have Twisted Dungeons is something else I have as a PDF, and also the Twisted Minions, which those are great first supplements in some way to get. I actually got them kind of later on. My only beef on the Twisted Minions is the way it prints. It's not so convenient because everything else is oriented differently. But anyway, I have that, and then I have a variety of fan-made stuff that I have gotten over the years, including some fan-made characters, and I guess that's an old something, as well as this kind of store, I guess you would call it, or just like listing of other things to buy, because I think that's another thing in the game where unless I'm missing it, there isn't like one place where there's a lot of different stuff to buy. So this I got from somewhere, I don't know, and those are my PDFs. But over the years, I've bought the kinds of things that I like to use when I play games, which is physical objects and things. And I have, as a result of the way that this material is released and the ways that it's been developed, I have been able to kind of tailor my gameplay of this rule set to be what I want it to be, and to be something different than I get from other things. And the reason that I'm doing my video with this map as the background, this is a map from a game, I'll put the credits down below, from Albion, which is set in a fantasy world, is because I don't, for the most part, do dungeon crawling anymore in For Against Darkness. I will use For Against Darkness as the basis of a dungeon crawl to run it as an RPG for kids. But for myself, for my own play, what is so great, and this might be one of the books I use the most perhaps, is the Crag Adventures, this is for level 4 plus. I usually do start pretty much every session by just creating like third-ish level characters, usually third, maybe fourth, to get them to a place where they can get more stuff. I like starting with more stuff, and this is a game that lends itself so much to all sorts of house ruling that there are rules somewhere in here for how to advance your characters that way, but I certainly do that. The More Mountainous Mayhem. So now we're just going to take a look at the books that I have. It's in no particular order. This isn't any kind of like top ranking of them. It's just what I have, and talking a little bit about what I like about the gameplay, again, with the hope that maybe some viewers in the comments can lead me to content for the game that I don't own and don't know about. More Mountainous Mayhem is Crag's Dungeons, Monsters, Tables, and New Classes, and it is mostly exterior, outside stuff. The new classes are here. There's a whole development of these kind of hybrid characters that come in this book with some great art and just amusing, like this eunuch cork, for example, is wonderful. And what I like here, the tree folk, I've played this character, and it has just this kind of natural feel. I like the idea of being in nature for a game like this, for a dungeon crawl, but outside. I think the combination of the constrained locations with the sense that you're outside and the description and the kinds of things you could encounter outside, like mushrooms or whatever off in the distance, is a very nice balance of things. And so I find myself using this a lot, and also the art in this book I find particularly compelling and evocative. There are, as one would know if one's familiar with it, you get some specific maps here for some of the missions, and you also get the meat of the game, which are the various tables. And I will say that one of the things that I do, this will look very familiar to you, even if you haven't seen this book, this will look very familiar to you if you're familiar with the game at all, because it's essentially, this is a dungeon, but outside. The one thing that I have done, and probably the next time I play it, I will do again, is I try to play different characters just to sort of experience how they are, and sometimes kind of preset out which tables I will go to. So I'll make a list for myself, or a random table for myself that I can roll on that will then direct me to, well, I'm going to be rolling on the Mountain Dwarves table, or I'm going to be rolling on some table in a different book. This book doesn't have tables, but that to make sure that I integrate as much of the different material as I can and make myself like an order of play that will pick up those things. But I do find myself, in a sense, going back to this More Mountainous Mayhem, maybe probably the most, I think. The Wayfarers and Adventurers, this is new characters and options. This one has the gnome in it. And I am very partial to gnomes. Prior to purchasing this, there was somebody on BGG who made a gnome character. I had been playing with that gnome character, but I don't do that anymore. I have this gnome, and this gnome is great because they get their options for, what are they called? I can't remember. Their tinkering points, basically. So they have choices to build things and make things. And I like having within one character the possibility of various options that they can do. So the gadgeteer, so he can, at any moment during the adventure, he could spend his gadget points to do one of the following. And I like having the sort of added complexity. I don't really want to, it's not complex, it's just added decision space at any given encounter to look to the gnome and think, well, what could they do in this case? The other thing I love here in Wayfarers is the option to have a troll with you. And the green troll is a great character because the green troll is not the brightest bulb in the box. And until you get the skill where you can sort of manipulate what they do by rolling twice on the stupidity table and taking the better choice, until you get that, it's just, you could get anything. And again, I just think this is a great, it really enlivens things, because if I have a critique in a negative way of this system, is that as you go through, you can, or at least I can with my gameplay, find myself sort of relying on the same options and things for the various characters as I'm going. So every time I go into one type of space, I know this person goes first with this type of attack. I know this person goes second with this type of attack. And that's maybe my own fault, but that when you have the gadgets and the troll together, say that's half your party, you you have a lot of baked in choices. And of course, with a troll, you just never know what you're going to get. The other thing that I really like about this rules, this book in particular, is just the cover art. I think that's really a beautiful character, and I am partial to feline characters. There's new equipment. The leaf steel armor is, again, something very simple. The concept of leaf steel armor can become extremely thematic, and the notion of being outdoors is important to the type of play that I like to do these days with this rule set. You could see, and given that the courtship of the flower demons is also something, what I have not done here is that this you can play through, and I have not done that. And I mean to do that. But what I use it for is the encounter tables here. They are by terrain. So we have seaside, riverside, meadows, the Queen's Garden Palace. And what I will do is, again, create a master list. I don't have one to show you. I don't keep them, but I probably should. To create some sort of master list, it could be a D12 list, depending on how many books you have, of tables. And you could make your own story and then decide, well, then you could either decide, well, I'm getting to, the seaside, so I'll roll on that table, or you could just roll on your own master list and then go to the specific book that has that table in it. And in that way, kind of change things up a bit. Concise collection of classes here is one where I haven't used these characters so much. I'm seeing now, I think I've used the Harlequin and the Assassin a bunch. There's just new material here. There's new characters that you can have. That's what the book is. There's skills and things there aren't. It's just new classes. The Dragon Slayer skills are one that I think I have decided in the past. I've taken some of these and sort of put them onto another character. But this is just a book with classes, more class materials on it. The Classical Critters one also is one where you can create companions. You can have the new class of Beastmaster, where you are controlling and have impact over companions, and you also have these exterior tables to roll on, the Woodlands table and the Vermin and the Minions. And this goes nicely with what I was showing you here, the Flower Demons, pairing these three together really for outdoor types of adventures and creating your own random table with outdoor encounters. These are very good things to have. And then taking, these are some class things that have new classes that fit nicely with it. So I think all of those together work. And I think here too, this is a kind of enchantment area, the Toadstool Ring table, some weird monsters, Pixie King Vermin. I mean, this is its own thing, but again, drawing out of this to create this kind of outside fantasy world with fae and elementals and nature and characters that work that way, like the character that's basically a living tree. I don't know where else you can play a game like this in this type of setting, this kind of outdoor magical setting that that the book purchases that I have that I've used the most tend to support. This is a more recent purchase for me. I don't think, honestly, I've used this at all. There is this Frost Maiden character I was interested in. I think the next time I put together this game, I was kind of interested in this particular character. So this is more characters and monsters and such. I don't think there are any tables in here, so I haven't really used that one. The Ravengers of Ruins, now this is like sort of the opposite, because this is interior. This is like in a city, and you have the ruined city and special locations here, and some big big monsters here. And I like the artwork and the description here. You could build an adventure around this being the boss monster. You could create, I think I actually did randomize this somehow in a list and make numbers next to them so I could roll on it randomly to just draw up a random boss monster that you could extract out of this particular weird city or not. For Against the Abyss, as you know, if you know this game, this is just the supplement to take you to character levels 5 to 9 with a lot of specialized or expert skills, they're called. And again, I don't end up using this too much because a lot of what I end up doing is playing like characters 3 to 4, like a couple of things to make characters at level 3, get them to level 4, and then I don't necessarily continue on with those characters. And I would say if you're a kind of second level of material that I have for this game is in this Dreadful Dozen, which is 12 detailed foes for Against Darkness, and basically detailed monster concepts for the game. And this is just a little more in depth because you get into more the history and the background of these particular monsters. And again, you could base an entire run through this being the boss monster and pick up from the information that is given here. There's even story hooks here to create your own encounters and stories and things. And again, with doing something like that, when you have also the Twisted Minions and the Twisted Dungeons, you can pull in, those are, I think they're D88 tables, I can't remember, to add that level of complexity and off the beaten path of For Against Darkness into your individual encounters. So the Twisted Minions is going to give you these additional things that the minions will do, or the minions might try to hunt you for taking things from you or whatever, just to kind of make it a little more challenging and a little less predictable. So what you could do, and what I will do sometimes, is say almost like, not like a wandering monster, but like a wandering impact. So you encounter minions and then you roll a d6, and on a roll of 1, they become Twisted Minions. And then you go to the Twisted Minions table and bring that effect in, because it's basically an effect that will last for that encounter with those minions. And I know I skipped over, so recently, I think there's one other thing I skipped over, but I can't remember what it is, but I know that this I didn't talk about. This is the For Against Darkness zine, issue number 2. There was a reason, I only bought the one issue. There was a reason why I decided to buy this issue as opposed to another one, and or I should say as opposed to issue 1. I don't remember why right now. I think it had something to do with I like this, it has some adventures in it. The Mushroom Menace, I think, was the one that I like playing with mushrooms in my games, and the Watery Cave of the Witch, that appealed to me, and I only wanted to buy one, so I chose this one. Haven't yet played it. I think it's a little bit more directive, choose your own adventure type, which is definitely not a bad thing at all, because this game is so open-ended and just so both intricately done in the sense that almost everything works with everything else, and simply done in the sense that the mechanics of the basic game and rule set are so easy that it is, I think that's one of its great strengths, and that the game works with you for the level of detail you want to do, in terms of even like positioning your characters and thinking about, yes, you have the characters that are in front and behind, but just thinking about them in space a little bit if you want to, and the gesture toward that with some of the monsters and who they attack and how they attack, that the game works really well with you on that level if you want it to. And so, as I said at the outset of the video, this is basically my For Against Darkness collection, plus the main rules in my 3-ring binder, and the Twisted Minions and the Twisted Dungeons, and just 1 or 2 print out fan-made things that are have some equipment and something else. So I'm posing the question, what do you recommend from For Against Darkness that I don't have, whether it is in book form, whether it is on fan form somewhere? Please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate that. Usually comments with URLs do not make it through, so it would be better to just say, the name of the thing, and it can be found on the Board Game Geek page or whatever. If you can do it that way, I would appreciate that. And as always, thanks for watching.